Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I have a very special video. I'm super excited to be sitting down with Harleny, and she is going to be talking with me today, sharing information with you guys about how you can find a job during this weird economic time. She'll be talking to us about the power of LinkedIn and also just answering questions that a lot of newer social workers have when they're trying to really find success and navigate within the social work field. I will let Harleny introduce herself to everyone.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Gabby, again for having me on your channel. As she mentioned, my name is Harleny. I am a fellow social worker and a fellow career coach, helping new social workers secure their next role, enhance their confidence, and really market themselves through the LinkedIn platform. But thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so I'm super happy to have her on this platform because one thing she talks about, as she just mentioned, is really helping social workers to get the jobs that they want and propel themselves within the job market. And right now with COVID-19 and just everything that's happening in the climate right now, it's making it more difficult for people to secure jobs. Her and I can bounce ideas off of one another and give you guys tips on how you can really shine during this difficult time and still succeed as you guys look for jobs. I know a lot of you recently graduated, so we want this to be a resource that you can use. I want to ask you a very important question just to kind of kick off the conversation. During this economic decline, how can people make sure that they're competitive when they are applying for jobs? What advice do you give, your coaching clients during this time?
I mean, as you mentioned, it's definitely a global pandemic and things are very uncertain at this time. So the best way that you really make sure that you are competitive is using this time wisely and effectively to make sure you sharpen your skills. Let's say you wanted to learn how to use Excel. This will definitely be the time. Or if you wanted to, for your fellow social workers, if you wanted to learn how to more about motivational interviewing or certain modalities to implement with your future client, this is the time to do it. Practice for your social work license. It's really important that whether you currently been laid off or you currently seeking for a job, is to use all of this time very, very wisely and strategically, even if you only do it for 30 minutes to an hour a day. So make sure you use the time to really sharpen your skills because people are still hiring even through this pandemic.
Exactly. That is such great advice. So I also know that you work at a nonprofit full-time as well.
Correct. Yes, I currently work with children and families as a social work supervisor at this time.
Okay. And are you like me where you're working remotely? Or
yes, I'm working remotely until further notice.
Okay. Yep. I'm in the same exact situation. I thought it would also be helpful if we talk to people about, how they can successfully work remotely, since a lot of us are doing so, and a lot of jobs that people are applying for may ask them to work remotely. So have you learned any tips or tricks for working remotely? And then also thinking about how the interviewing process is becoming remote as well. So any tips you could provide around that?
Absolutely. So I'm not gonna lie, when I first started working remotely, it definitely took some adjustment, just like everyone else. But I have really learned to set some boundaries for myself in the sense that I get up at the same time every day. I do get dressed because sometimes if not saying that you're gonna go all full flags, but just really, presentable as most of us will be having Zoom meetings. But it's very important to get yourself into that routine. So, if and when you go back to the office, you'll be able to stick to a routine. So it's very important to stick to a routine and really develop, that boundary within yourself as a, specific workspace area that okay, from 9 to 5 or 10 to 6, I'm going to sit here and make sure that this is what I'm going to do and not get easily distracted. Because, of course, when you're on your computer on the couch, you can easily get distracted once you watch TV and then just not really get anything done. So it's very important to set some boundaries. Same thing when it comes to interviewing, you want to make sure that you are in a space that you do not have much things going on in the background. As you guys can see, this is my room. The back doors are just my closet door. So that is absolutely fine. Doesn't mean you need to be in a specific area, but just make sure that there's nothing distracting in the background and your surroundings, you don't have anything that can be distracting. So it's really about just setting some time for yourself, setting some boundaries, and just having a little personal space for you. Even if it's just, again, in the corner of your room or in the kitchen area, just make sure that you have a designated space that will give you that peace of mind.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You know, especially the point you made about making sure you have your schedule and set routines in place. I feel like the first few months of this stay at home, work remote era, I was really confused because my whole schedule was thrown off. So I was all over the place. I just felt very out of sorts. But once I started implementing a schedule into my day, I felt more at peace with everything. And I just was overall more productive and happier.
I also wanted to mention that since I have an iPhone, I have an app that I use to limit the amount of time I am on social media. So during 9 to 5, the social media is blocked, but you can unlock it. I usually do during lunchtime. But that is very, very important, because if not, you'll be on social media the whole day because you're home and you think you can access your phone. So it's very important to set some boundaries. So I wanted to mention that as well.
Okay, so I also got a very specific question from a viewer. I actually told people on my Instagram that I was going to be sitting down with you, and I asked them if they had any questions. And someone had a question, and it says, I've been applying for jobs for 3+ months, and I haven't heard back yet. Any tips? And then they also wanted to know what the average callback time typically is. Do you have any advice or anything around that you could talk about?
That is a great question. So unfortunately, with this pandemic, there is no specific callback time because everything is really unknown. But the best advice I can say is, use your network really, really wisely and be patient, right? Because the thing is, which I always, which I know we'll talk more later on about LinkedIn, but the reason why I really tell all my clients and everyone who's job seeking to use LinkedIn, because that is your foot in the door. That is the way for you to network. When you apply to jobs like an Indeed or on a job board, you don't know exactly who you're applying to. So it's like you're not going to see the results that you want, or, hear specific feedback from, you constantly applying. However, if you use your time wisely and strategically and really connect with, people and organizations that you want to apply, let's say on LinkedIn, you'll be able to see, okay, I messaged this person today and I haven't heard from them in 2 weeks. Let me follow up. So you'll be able to kind of have a timeline for yourself, and it can decrease that feeling of, anxiety and feeling overwhelmed with not really seeing the results that you want. That's the reason why I can't stress LinkedIn and networking enough.
That really just goes right into the next question, which is LinkedIn specific. And it's all about how new social workers or social workers who are looking for a new job can utilize LinkedIn. I know LinkedIn is really your playground. That's where you found a lot of success. And I wanted, to hear from you. I call you like the LinkedIn queen on, on tips around utilizing it appropriately.
Absolutely. So I first want to say that a lot of people shy away from LinkedIn because they're like, oh my God, or my current employer is gonna, they're gonna find me. They're gonna say like, I'm looking for jobs. Who am I? Things like that. That's the first thing for, social workers who want to seek opportunities, is to really remember that you have skills and you have so much to offer. At the end of the day, you need to connect with the right people. So LinkedIn is really a networking platform, and opportunities can come about it. Your employer cannot get mad for you keeping an open mind and really displaying your skills on LinkedIn just to see exactly what comes about. And LinkedIn, you don't have to say, I'm looking for a role. You can say something along the lines of saying, I'm open to a role that can best align with my skills and qualification. Something simple. Again, you're not saying that you're leaving your job and you're quitting and you hate this and blah, blah, blah. You're not saying that. Just really about keeping an open mind, and no job can harm you for that. If they ask you, you can say, oh, I just wanted to keep my mind open. I don't know where I'll be in the next year, in the next year or two. Anything like that, right? So LinkedIn, what I say is a few things. The first component is having your LinkedIn profile up to par with a great LinkedIn bio, and your headline and your about me, think of it as a Google search engine. You need to have keywords that will really reflect the type of roles that you're trying to apply. Because recruiters are on LinkedIn, and when they go ahead and search, your profile needs to pop up with specific keywords. So let's say you're interested in mental health, case management, crisis intervention, with kids or adolescent. All of those keywords need to be in your profile So when the recruiter goes in, your profile will pop up. So the more keywords and the more skills and qualification you're able to display on your profile, the higher chances you have of recruiters calling you. And the second component of LinkedIn is engaging with others. So I get this question asked a lot, like, I don't know what to post or what should I say, like, but I'm a new grad, what are they gonna think? So what I say is first, breathe. It looks harder than it really is, but it's really, really simple. You can post something like, hey, LinkedIn fan, I hope you have a great day. Or, hey, LinkedIn fan, today, really talking about your day. You don't have to give your life story, but very short and sweet. And what I mean by engagement is commenting on other people's content, right? Something short and sweet. Oh, I completely agree. I love this. Or, tagging someone who you feel that would really benefit from someone's article or content. Because here's the thing, the more you're able to engage, at least 10 to 15 minutes a day, the more your name will keep popping up in other people's pages. So even if you just comment, say like, great post, then someone saw that specific engagement. Because remember, somebody always knows somebody, right? Let's say you, in your network, you commented or like on someone's post, and then that specific, another person saw it, and then they're like director of like, let's say mental health hospital or something. They're like, oh, this person, they have some great skills. Let me go on their specific profile. LinkedIn opens opportunities. And as Gabby mentioned, LinkedIn has literally been a game changer for me. Within my career and my business, I have really gotten so many opportunities because of LinkedIn. Speaking engagement as in the universities, engagements in podcasts, work opportunities. Recruiters have messaged me. Of course, I have turned it down, but it's really, really important that LinkedIn changes your life. I'm not even joking. Like, it really does, because it's so powerful. And right now I have about 3,000 connections, and I want to continue growing. You can have up to 30,000 connections. So it's amazing. I could talk about LinkedIn all day, but just know if you want to seek your next opportunity, you have to be on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like I can improve in how I use LinkedIn. I need to be more intentional about it, but I do understand what you're saying about how powerful it is. I have found some opportunities via LinkedIn as well. And that's me who's not super active on it. So I can just imagine how many more opportunities would come to someone who's active on it. And as you mentioned, making posts or commenting on other people's posts and tagging people. And I also talk about how, when you are applying for jobs, it's not best to only take one approach of just going to a job board and applying that way. You should also try to find out who the hiring manager is, type that name into LinkedIn and see if the hiring manager and yourself has any connections. And if so, you can reach out to that person that you guys both are connected with and, let them know of your interest in that job and see if they could possibly connect you with the hiring manager or with someone at that job to just get your name out there and make it to where you're not just, one of the hundreds that could potentially be applying for that job online.
I completely agree, because at the end of the day, most job boards are robots.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, what are your chances of you getting, it's called the ATS system. The ATS system is really, a robot. So what's best to really get your foot in the door and really put a face to the name is by networking, because by word of mouth will give you the opportunities that you want, not just sitting and waiting like, well, I applied to like 700 jobs and nobody called me. But, that's not the most easiest approach to take.
Can you just explain to everyone what the ATS system is? I probably talked about it in the past video, but just in case anyone's confused.
So, when you go to those applications that you have to fill out your life away and put all the specific jobs from the year, that's pretty much you putting it into a robot. That means if you don't have specific keywords or anything of the qualifications that they're looking for, your resume is not even going to get to the hiring manager. So that's not my method that I teach my clients of like applying through there, but a lot of, career coaches and just people in general do specialize in helping clients get through the ATS system with specific keywords and really like putting them at the top of the chart.
So you guys heard it. LinkedIn is one of the biggest ways that you can have a competitive edge during this weird economic time. So you guys, you got to get on LinkedIn if you're not already. Okay, so this was a question that I got that was a little bit less related to the job application process, but they did want me to still talk to you about this. Someone asked the question, how can I set proper boundaries with clients? And I thought, since you do more, I know you work in a supervisory role, but you work within more direct practice. Do you have any advice for creating those proper boundaries with clients?
First day is when you're first starting in the field, you're not going to know exactly what are your limits. So my advice for those social workers starting in the field is to be aware of, what can trigger you, or, how you feel and your energy, and really like what can lead you to being burned out. If you're someone that you feel like, okay, this person calls me every single middle of the day, and for some reason, I am feeling very overwhelmed and just I cannot keep up with those expectations, then there, you know what? That needs to be one boundary I need to set. Hey, I can be reached between these hours, and making sure that they know exactly your specific role. And then another thing in regards to if you've already been in the field, how can you set those boundaries goes back to, again, really knowing your limitations. I can't tell you exactly what boundaries to set for yourself. Only you can do that, because only you know what you can handle, right? Only you know exactly how you work best, right, throughout the day. So it's the best advice I can say is keep mind or keep a journal or anything, any notes, post-its of your day, and really jot down like when you feel triggered or when you feel emotionally drained after doing exactly what task, and then go from there. Because if you know that after a long day you are extremely overwhelmed because you're writing endless case notes, then okay, the boundary can be for yourself. How am I going to prioritize my schedule throughout the week? If let's say you have to be in the out in the field, okay, I know that Mondays and Thursdays going to be, I'm going to be in the office, and really jot down notes so I don't feel that at the end of the week I feel completely overwhelmed, taking one specific day to write all of my notes. So I hope that helps. And like I said, it's really important to just be mindful of your, where your energy best aligns in the week and how you're being productive. Because that's how you're going to be able to set boundaries when you realize like, oh, I could have been productive in this, but now I feel overwhelmed and I'm burned out. I don't have self-care. So it's important to set boundaries for yourself and for your clients.
And to add on to that, being okay with saying no and not worrying about hurting anyone's feelings or letting anyone down. Because if you're not at your best, most optimal self, then you can't be there for anyone else. And you shouldn't feel ashamed at the fact that you're not a superhero and you can't just go with constant energy. That's just not how we are. So we all need times where we're at our peak, and those moments when we're resting as well. Remember, you're a human being as well, and you have to look out for number one, because if you're not looking out for yourself, you can't look out for or help anyone else.
Absolutely. Remember, you cannot want it more than the client. The client needs to want it themselves. So really, trust me, as a new social worker starting out, I started out in foster care, and I wanted the parents to really get their children back, and I will put my heart and soul, and then, I will see them kind of unfortunately crumble in front of my eyes, and I'm like, oh, OMG, I wanted this, I wanted that. But it's really about learning, like, you could try all your best, and we're here to empower these families, not, enable them. And unfortunately, if they're not able to, meet their goals, it has nothing to do with you. So it's all about that level of awareness and that self-love and reminder that you're doing the best you can.
Exactly. And I started off in case management. So I had a similar experience where I would see people who I knew weren't bringing their best selves to the table. But if they're not ready to make those steps, there's only so much I can do to encourage them to do it. And when you're doing direct practice social work and you're working with your clients, it's a partnership. It's not you leading their lives. It's, you guys working together to get them to the point that they want to be in. And at some points, the client may not be as excited to make certain moves for one reason or another. And you really can't take full ownership or fault because of that, because it may just not be the time for them to make certain changes or to do X, Y, and Z. So another question someone asked, or actually it was more of a comment, they said that they are a new social worker and they have a lot of fears about making mistakes, and these fears hold them back from really bringing themselves to their job fully.
What you're describing is that feeling of imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is that feeling that you're feeling like a fraud, that you're never going to be good enough, that no matter what you do, you're just not going to meet the expectations that you set for yourself. So my advice to that person would be, breathe. Reminder that you got your degree, and that is a huge accomplishment. And only you are able to set the expectation for yourself and nobody else. Do not compare yourself to other experienced social workers, because remember, they're on level 10 while you're on level 1, and no one expects for you to be on a level 10. Especially as a new social worker, you are your own person, you are unique. And what I tell all of my clients is to really take a moment to, reflect back on all of your accomplishments, starting with you have your degree, and if you have your license, even more wins. If you don't, it's okay. Your time is coming if you wish to go through that path. If not, it's totally okay. And it's really important to just give yourself that self-love, and to really, our thoughts really influence the type of actions that we take. So what I show my clients is to really be mindful of their thoughts, and to really jot down why they think the way they do them by themselves. And of course, social workers, a lot of things stem from childhood. All those ideas and all those feelings that you have about yourself are really within yourself. What I mean by that is that your thoughts really influence the type of actions that you take. So if you're sitting there really like bashing yourself and putting yourself down and saying, I don't have my social work license, or I am not good enough, or I can't apply for that social work, specific job, you need to really take the time to really reflect on why do you think that way about yourself? And what evidence are you supporting yourself with that, right? So it's easier said than done, but I really guide my clients on this method of reflection. And basically what this does is, if you're able to put your thoughts and your fears out loud, whether you say it, whether you put it on paper, it becomes more real. Therefore, that level of awareness will be able to come up, right? And then what do you do with that? It's hard to explain because it's easier said than done, but that feeling of empowerment within yourself, that once you feel like I can take control back of my thoughts. And I know that because if I feel that I see myself in this way, then I have the power to change it. So it's really important to just give yourself some credit, be patient, love yourself, really love every process that you are. Obviously, if you're a new recent social work grad, please do not compare yourself to an experienced social worker who has been years in the field. There's no specific manual on what a social worker should be or should look like or anything like that. Only you create your own story. So remember that, okay? So really empower yourself to really believe within, because everything is a process and only you can define what you want your life to be.
Man, I love that. I love that. You are speaking truth. I feel like, there's this age-old phrase about social work where like, oh, we can't make a lot of money, we can't work certain jobs, we can't do this, we can't do that. And just hearing that time and time again, it can impact how we see ourselves and how we see the profession, and really decrease our level of confidence. So I love everything you're saying, writing it down and trying to reflect on why you are thinking certain limiting beliefs, so that you can look it right in the eye and see that it's a false narrative and that it's not true. It's just something that you have been brought up to believe. And, now it's become a part of your thought reality when it's all false. Thank you so much for highlighting that, because I think that is very important, especially, to remind newer social workers.
This idea of like you said, social workers don't make a lot of money, or they're not meant to do this or do that. It's like, who said that? It's just you're putting this belief in your head, and that is really stemming from, like you said, that it will bring those limiting beliefs like, oh, well, they said that, so I definitely can achieve that. But as we know, social workers, social success is what you make it. It really does. Social work is what you make it pretty much at the end of the day.
Exactly. All right. So I think this was a really great, fruitful conversation. We've talked about so much. Anyone who have sent me over questions for this video, thank you so much. I think your questions were really good, and it really did encapsulate a lot of the feelings and issues that newer social workers may be having.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Gabby, for having me. And again, as I mentioned before, Please feel free to follow me on Instagram. You're About Mine, and I'm on LinkedIn. Get on LinkedIn by my name, Harleny Vasquez. Feel free to connect with me, give me a shout out. I love helping my new social workers succeed, and of course, my seasoned social workers. I love to connect with everyone, so feel free to follow me. And this was great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, no problem. Thank you much, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.